Good morning or good day to my fellow viewers, and today I will be doing a book review on The Little Prince, also known as Le Petit Prince in French. Please do not mind my French accent because I don't study French, so I might have butchered some pronunciations. Okay, so this book is written by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, a French writer who had written this book in 1940. And I came across this book when I was looking up photos for one of my favorite singers, especially one of its members named The I will insert few of the pictures on the screen right now, where he had a photo of during 2015 Halloween, their fan sign event. He had dressed up as one of the characters, the Little Prince, and also he quite recently did a somewhat of a photo shoot resembling the uh, the concept of the Little Prince. Now, I haven't even read this book before, and coincidentally, I found the book that was being sold in Popular. This book cost me around 39 ringgit, if I'm not mistaken. I read it through, and to be quite honest, I was lost. But I read it again, and of course, I now understand. This book heavily supports on its more of a philosophy side. It's not your typical child's storybook, mind you. It's really mind-boggling, but at the same time, it is intriguing. Now, this book has 127 pages with several illustrations, which the author had drew himself. And one of the illustrations which I actually find very, very wonderful is this illustration of the Little Prince. And it has several pictures, several illustrations drew by the author, but as the author said in his books, he said that he tried his best to draw these details. Now, the story begins when the author, or I would like to say the narrator of the story, he crash landed in this hard desert for an emergency brake because the engine was mysteriously broken. And at the time when he was about to fix the issue, the Little Prince came and, of course, asked him to draw a sheep. The author himself only know how to draw a boa constrictor which devoured a elephant entirely. So he doesn't know how to drew a sheep before. And of course, from that one single moment, they began their questionable friendship. Now, during the moments of them being together in the Sahara Desert, a certain incident happened which led the Little Prince to explain or tell his tales of his own journeys from living in a small asteroid called B615 to visiting Earth, where he met the pilot. During his journey, in which he lands onto other asteroids or other planets, as he likes to say, he met these, I would say, adults. For example, the king, which he met first during his travels, who governs the stars. And the next goes to a tippler, and then a businessman, then the lamplighter, so on and so forth, until he finally finds and, well, meets the geographer who tells him the, well, basically Earth, of course, and he went there. The reason why he goes around in his travels, not only to try to understand his own small problem with his rose, the single flower that he has, which he thought was, rare, but he wanted to find, he wanted to make friends. Of course, he tried to make friends with the strangers that he had visited during his travels, but all of them were busy in their own quote unquote uh, problem, or bothered by the consequence of their own actions. Which to him, it sort of bothered him until the narrator said the same line, which blew his fuse up and, being very angry at the narrator. On top of that, to my surprise, the ending was some sort of a bittersweet. It actually almost as though the author himself really do wanted the little prince to stay, but being that he had to leave because at the time it was the anniversary of when he left his home, left behind his rose and his 3 volcanoes. He was particularly sad. I will quote you this whole page 127. And here's what the author had said. To me, this is the loveliest and saddest landscape in the world. It is the same as that on page 123, but I have drawn it again to impress it on your memory. It is here that the little prince appeared on earth and disappeared. Look at it carefully so that you will be sure to recognize it in case you travel someday to the African desert, and if you should come upon this spot, please do not hurry on. Wait for time, exactly under the star. Then, if a little man appears who laughs, who has golden hair, and who refuses to answer questions, you will know who he is. If this should happen, please comfort me. Send me word that he has come back. Which apparently became one of my favorite lines upon reading this story. Because after Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, he, well, unfortunately, 4 years later after publishing this book, and that was actually quite of a unfortunate end. Some people assume that he is possibly still alive, or some people really did assume that he died during the World War II, which actually made it quite bittersweet because I really do hope that if, and at some way, the author it has already passed away, I would really hope that the little prince would stay by his side, because the friendship between these two really intrigued me, because they were minds alike, so to say. Also, upon reading some parts of the line, this is also one of my favorite lines of them all, and I will quote: "For I do not want anyone to read my book carelessly. I have suffered too much grief in setting down these memories. 6 years have already elapsed since my little friend went away from me with his sheep. If I try to describe him here, it is in order not to forget him. To forget a friend is sad. Not everyone has a friend, and if I forget him, I may become like the grown-ups who are no longer interested in anything but figures." Which honestly really does speak so much to me. I, although I do have people who I recognize and they recognize me, it's not as the same way that I have friends, especially this one person that I truly cherish, but I decided to leave them alone and let them have their own life with other people better than me. To really top it all off, so what is the point of this whole philosophy thing? Well, here's my story. I could, the moment I read this book, I was very excited. And as I read it through, I realized how I was unable to understand a single word unless it's being very straightforward. The words are straightforward, then it's more easier for me to understand. But somehow, it doesn't click on. It really doesn't. And I just really couldn't understand why. And so I put it off, and then a few months later, here I am back again reading it. And then I realized how much I've been carelessly reading this book, just like the author had mentioned. I couldn't understand, mainly because, and quite possibly because, I wasn't really in the right mind to understand. And that's the whole wrap of the book. And yeah, my final words. This book has really, really might be challenging for others if you want to read it. Again, like I said, due to it being more of a philosophy side than a children's storybook, maybe someone who has, again, a like-mindedness of a child or somewhat similar, or you know what I mean, reading this book, I think they would understand better. But if you really want to, I really, really recommend this to, well, basically anyone. Well, keep in mind, some people may not understand the whole concept or message of this book, but again, highly recommend reading this story because this is a very, very, really, it's a precious story to me. It also, at the same time, gave me this lesson to learn certain things. So yeah, I will wrap this up, and I really, really hope that this book has interest you, and I really hope that everyone has a really great day. So goodbye.